Hey everybody, Jazz Samurai here with a little bit of a different video because it's 2021. And I was watching the Chords of Orion channel, which is an amazing ambient guitar channel here on YouTube. And though I don't know him at all, and he's way up here and I'm down here as far as YouTube things, Bill, who is Chords of Orion, is an inspiration to me, and he's one of the people that kind of inspired me to work on my own YouTube channel. And also, I think we're similar ages, and perhaps in some ways, other ways similar as well. But I saw his video, and this is kind of my response video, or a Me Too video of me talking about my 2021 goals. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about what happened in 2020. Apart from there was this thing, I don't know what you call it, pandemic, that seemed to sweep the world and is still sweeping the world. And because of that, I had to stop playing live. So I haven't played live even in my beloved Showa era club here in Sendai, Japan. I haven't been there since April. So what happened is I started to write a lot more. I've always written a lot. I've been writing music, writing songs since I was 13 or 12. So that's a long time. And in 2020, I wrote at least 40 original songs, some on my own, some with my writing partner Jim, and some with other partners. So I was quite prolific in 2020, and I'd like to keep that going in 2021. So if we think about the goals, I'm going to list my goals for 2021 now here. Let's see, after I do this part here. Maybe it's a little bit of a Chords of Orion inspired backing music here today. So goal number one, release more music. And for me, that means putting stuff out on to streaming platforms. This is brand new for me. I've already started, released one quote unquote single on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. And the goal for me with this is to release one single a month on those streaming services and to release 2 albums in 2020. Now, what an album means for Jazz Samurai is open to interpretation. It could be a collection of pop, original material, or another album of jazz standards. That's what I'm thinking of right now, but with the jazz standards, I'm not sure what the licensing is of all that, so I have to look into that. So that's my original music goals, is to write a lot more, or to keep up that kind of output, and to release singles, and to release 2 albums. Yeah. Let's see what else I can do with that. So goal number 2 is to break out a new channel here on YouTube. Because, I like to do lots of different kinds of music, and I think I'm kind of polluting the pool a little bit. So with Jazz Samurai, it's going to stay jazz standards and original songs and guitar-related things like that. A new channel is going to spin off where I will do my electronic music, which I love to do that. Not quite ambient music, but more synthestra, I think they call it, which is a synth orchestra and things like that. I love to do that kind of music. So spin off a new channel to do that. That's goal number 2. But of course, we're here on YouTube. I want to keep going with the YouTube work that I've been doing recently here. That is to have a release schedule of 2 times a month. I'm shooting for Tuesdays and Fridays. Now, whether that's Tuesday and Friday Japan time or Tuesday and Friday, your time, wherever you are. Not quite sure about that yet, but 2 a week. And those releases on here will continue to be the same kind of things that I've predominantly been doing, which is just checking the mic was plugged in, which is a jazz standard. So recently I've been doing a jazz standard followed kind of by a discussion about that song and my approach to the song and things like that. So keep going with that. These guitar spotlights, I've been doing something called Guitar of the Week, though recently it's been more like Guitar of the Month. And to look through some of the guitars here, and maybe even I'll get some new guitars. I haven't bought a new guitar in a long time. And also to, of course, keep doing original songs and maybe some live streams of like a little studio concert, or talking about how I use Logic Pro, because I work in Logic every day, and I think doing live streams like that might be of help to some of you out there if you're also using that DAW. So. Next goal number 4, is Instagram. Now, Instagram is something I let lie dormant for a very long time. I'm refocusing on that. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Instagram, I'm putting up guitar exercises. PDFs of those are available in my next goal. And to do some personal stuff. And I was talking to somebody recently, and they said from my Instagram, which I admittedly left dormant, they don't know anything about me, who is Jazz Samurai. So that I'm going to try and put some, photos or content or stories or whatever up there that gives a little bit more of an insight and a little bit more of a personal connection, so that you and I can connect. And my Instagram is jazz.samurai. There'll be a link down there in the description for that. The next thing is Patreon. Now, I have started a Patreon already. Patreon is a tough one because you're asking people for money, so you got to make sure your content is consistent and quality. For right now, it's PDFs of guitar lessons and perhaps some chord sheets of jazz standards or other kinds of additional material like that. There will be some special live streams and things like that as well coming into the Patreon, depending on what kind of level of pickup we get there. So those are the primary ones. And I kind of got some other ones, which is like, of course, improve the Jazz Samurai website. And on the back of the website, maybe look at song licensing. I would like to, I've got a huge back catalog of hundreds and hundreds of songs. I'd like to look at getting some licensing for that if possible. And finally, the one kind of that really excites me, though the other ones excite me as well, is the idea of doing collaborations. In 2020, I'd really love to start doing collaborations with people. So if you're out there, if you're watching this, big YouTube channel, small YouTube channel, whatever, if you're interested in the kind of music that I play that is, and just to reiterate, that's like predominantly jazz standards plus originals that are kind of 1970s, jazzy, poppy, Paul Simon-y, whatever-y music, country-y on some ways as well. If you're interested in collaborating with that, if you're a guitar player, piano player, singer, whatever, let's get together. Drop me a note in the comments below and maybe we can do something. Regardless of your style, we can do something that's kind of like a genre bending. So that's 2021. That's a lot of goals and it's a lot of work. Now, how do I do that? I do that by focusing. I spend a lot of time down here in what I call the room of doom. And, I'm here either working on my day job, because I also have another job, and also put other videos out on YouTube for that. So I'm either working on that or working on music. That's pretty much all I do, and eat and sleep and walk the dog. So, the pandemic's been good for that because there's nothing else to do. But I do live in Japan, in a kind of small town. So there's not a lot of opportunities, and I'm happy about that. I love what I do. I love the opportunities that I have, and you know, I built this life to be like that, which is maybe something I can talk about in other videos. You know, my life here and why I'm here and all that. So that's how I do it. I focus. I focus on the music. I focus on the thing I love. For me, it's relaxing. So I don't need some other form of relaxation. You know, I watch a movie. You know, I love the movies, so I do watch movies every once in a while. But other than that, I'm here with me and my guitars and my DAW. So that's it. If you want to write your goals, if you have goals, I mean, I always believe in setting goals. And if you want to chat, you can always drop me a line. See you soon. Happy 2021.